Hi. Hi. So today we've got Jesse from Bel Development. Thank you. The just as I did that, we'd been talking. I hit record, and just as I did that, his screen froze. But now he's moving again. So, dear me.
It's always the tech stuff, isn't it?
I'm curious about that because that's your area of expertise. Did that bother you?
It does, and you'd think it would translate more from like my background to the YouTube thing, but I've messed up more videos than most of my friends have posted, so it's
Yeah.
it's a thing. It happens.
Yeah. Do you think you just got higher standards there, or is it really a proper mess up?
No, like proper mess ups. Like I've
Proper.
I've recorded reaction videos and forgot to put the actual video on the screen.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I've like recorded whole things with like none of my voice, no music, no nothing. It's just like an empty video. Like I've done it all. Anything you can imagine.
I did. I shared one of my very very first attempt at doing a reaction video. My little face was so small, and I couldn't figure out how to make it bigger. That I put an arrow saying "Look up here," and I thought, well, the trouble is with reactions, you can't redo it then because, well, I suppose you can if you're a good actor, but
That's not me.
no, no. Anyway, what I normally do is I normally ask about Ren and finding the Ren fans, but I have had a bit of a look, a bit more of a look at your really popular ones. And Ren isn't your biggest hitter, but the reason I start with Ren is that it's kind of like a shorthand. Then, oh, okay, we know what we're talking about because I know that was how I got into reaction videos, going down the rabbit hole of watching High Ren particularly. So anyway, I watched your High Ren reaction, and you said that wasn't your first Ren video, and that surprised me.
That is interesting. I thought that was my first
I thought
Ren
you, I
video.
thought you said you were mentioning somebody called Nick. Was it a Nick? And you were
Yep,
saying, oh, I've seen, but maybe you were saying that you just heard of him a few times.
that's probably it. Yeah,
Yeah,
so Nick is that singer reactions. A lot
yeah,
of the renegades will know who that is.
yeah.
He's a really close friend of mine, so I watched just about all of his videos that he posts.
Ah,
So for
okay.
sure would have come across something.
But you gave me the impression that you had some idea who Ren was, but you'd never heard that High Ren song. Is that right? Or
I think so. I think I knew, like, I didn't know the story about his illness. I
okay,
didn't know that he was like a singer and a rapper, like this multi-talented producer, musician. I think I just knew that he was like popular and he was doing really well for himself and that he was an indie musician. I don't think I knew like much about him. If I'd have walked by him in the street, I wouldn't have known who he
no,
was, you know?
no. But you
Yeah.
say somebody recommended, and you trusted this recommendation that you thought, oh, that's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Shout out
Okay.
to Elizabeth. It was for sure Elizabeth that got me on
Oh,
that.
was it?
So, yeah.
And what happens next? Because typically, when people do reactions, then the renegades find them, and then it's kind of like a tsunami of the comments and stuff. But as I say, I saw that you had quite a lot of other videos that were really popular as well. So was it different, or what's happened?
I think it took me a little while to find my stride with the Ren reactions. So, like, for those of y'all that don't know me, I have a live audio background, and now
Hmm.
I do a lot of like producing and mixing for studio projects.
Okay.
And a lot of my content goes into trying to break down and digest the technical aspects of like the production of the music. So, I'm not
Yeah.
the most technical musician. I understand a lot of it,
Yeah.
but for me, it's a lot of like, how do I create this song, or why did I choose this product to get the sound that I wanted?
Okay.
And for Ren, like his music is so raw and emotional that like on first listen it takes me too long to
Okay.
digest that. And
Yeah.
even in the High Ren thing, like when I listen back to it, so much of it seems clear that I wasn't talking about or picking up on in the
Yeah.
video because I'm trying to analyze it from, you know, the microphone that was strapped onto his gown, his like
Yeah.
medical gown, or the guitar and these things, right? So at my first listen, if I could do it over again, I would. And that, I probably say that a lot about a lot of Ren songs,
Yeah.
but that wouldn't be my genuine reaction
Yeah.
anymore, right?
Exactly.
So it took me a while to kind of get my stride. And like I've told this to the Renegades too. I'm actually kind of self conscious about it because there are a lot of layers that are really important with Ren's music. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's just not the first thing that I catch, right? But
Yeah. It's interesting because just before we hit record, I was saying to you, I was trying to remember, you were saying live audio tech. Um, and the reason I was struggling to remember that is that it doesn't really mean, I mean, I can understand that you're doing audio and tech, but then just now you were saying about production and different things. So explain to me more about what that is, because I'm not a musician. I'm a wordy
sure,
person. I
I
like the
got you.
words and the stories.
So I'll do it a little bit by telling you my story. So
Okay, brilliant.
when I was 13 or 12 or 13, I went to a beautiful like music school where I learned how to play guitar and I learned how to sing, and it was a very popular place. We had like drum teachers, we had keyboard teachers, like the whole works, right? And the owner of it kind of saw this opportunity. He was like, everyone's learning kind of similar songs. I've got enough, like, bass musicians, piano, guitar, vocals, drums. He's like, I'm just going to start making little bands and see if we can't just put on like a little concert for the parents, even.
Yeah.
So I was one of the only male vocalists that liked rock. So I was putting quite a few of them. And we were a bunch of kids, like it was okay. And but they started kind of subbing us out or hiring us out for these like small festival shows in town. So
Hmm.
like Canada Day and just like whatever else the city puts on. And at one of these events, I met a sound guy who I was just like enthralled with. I could not stop watching him.
Yeah.
And like it goes into the guitar solo, and all of a sudden you hear the guitar solo really loud. And I could see him making the adjustments to
Yeah.
make that happen for the audience, right? And so I introduced myself. I'm a big extrovert. Introduced myself, asked if I could get him a drink, and he asked for a beer. And I said, "Well, I'm 13, so no, like I can't."
Yeah.
And I helped them load out, like tear everything down, clean the stage up, put all the stuff in the truck. I helped them with that for the night. And he said he would introduce me to a more commercial guy in town who did a lot of installs, and he owned a shop where he could order equipment in. And he actually went to school with my mom, so I kind of immediately had like an in with him,
Hmm.
and I started trading him labor for some equipment for myself.
Hmm.
And the original plan was I was going to be in a band and I was going to do my thing and have enough equipment to support my band, and that'd be cool. But once I got into that world, I didn't want to be a musician anymore. I wanted to
Oh,
be this
okay.
technician, right?
Yeah.
So my job was I would carry around this big, huge soundboard
Hmm.
and all these things called racks and equalizers and effects and stuff and monitors for the band and like tubs full of microphones and cables, and we would build these stages so that the band could perform and everyone else would actually hear it, right? Because otherwise you just have some guy on stage yelling at a crowd.
Mm.
And so yeah, so when I was 17, I was full time. I had my own business that I contracted with the other two. And when I turned 18, I took a full time position at a performance bar in town. So the bar had entertainment Tuesday through Saturday, and like they could hold 500 people as like
Hmm.
a capacity thing. So I was just there doing everything that came at me. It was comedy one night, and then it was karaoke, and then it was open mic, and then it was pro bands, and I was there for almost 10 years.
Okay.
So that's where that background comes from. Um,
Yeah. It was funny because one of my questions was about the timeline, because you were saying about, I think you were saying 14 years doing this and I was like, and then at one point I think you said you set up the YouTube channel to come back to music, and I was thinking, how is he fitting all of these things? But you started at 13, 14.
at 13, yeah.
That's how you fit it all in.
Yeah.
So what was the gap? What happened in the gap?
So DJs kind of started to take over. So instead of your typical wedding band, you could pay someone $200 and they would play all the top 40s hits
Okay.
at a controllable volume. There was only one person you had to feed and provide liquor to.
Hmm.
And they could just kind of set up in a small corner instead of needing a big, huge stage and all these
Yeah.
speakers and hours of setup. So it just got thinner and thinner in the city that I live in. Like there's still lots of live music. It's just
Hmm.
in the city that I live in, it kind of faded for a while. And I'm in my early 20s, and trying to make a go at it. Trying to have my own place. I was trying to buy a condo at the time, and it just wasn't realistic for the amount of work we were getting. How like we had to compete with lower and lower prices, so the price kept moving down,
Hmm.
and I ended up stepping away and getting like some corporate jobs
Okay.
just to make ends meet. Right, I was
Yeah.
still filling in on the side. Like my mentor's mother passed away, and so I did a bunch of jobs for him for a couple of months, and But yeah, it just got thinner and thinner, and now there's only one company in town that does it. I think everyone else is gone now. So I was
Yeah.
just one of the earlier ones to kind of get out before I was too far in debt.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with the story of people and when they have more of a creative life and work life, and at what point they've decided that that's possible for them. So clearly, I'm guessing you were young enough and you kind of fell into certain things. What that you didn't, you weren't really thinking, "Oh, this is possible." You probably just thought, "Oh, this is the normal. This is everybody gets work like this." I don't know.
A bit of both. I felt really confident just because of the opportunities I was given. Like
Hmm.
the first guy that I mentioned and the guy that he introduced me to, they were not only like in my opinion the best in our area, but
Hmm.
they had been doing it for the longest amount of time. Like the one guy, that's his own, he just recently retired. He turned 70 next month. And he has done audio as a profession since 1977.
Hmm.
And that's been his only job, and he's really really good at it. So he was the one that kind of taught me everything I knew. So when I was 15, 16, 17, I was competitive with a lot of the new people that were
Yeah.
coming in, but everyone knew me because I was backed by the guys who had been
Yeah.
doing it for so long. And so out of the gates, like I had a really good opportunity to make strides with it, and I made a really good living. I had a full-time employee. Every once in a while we had part-time employees, and I'm 18, 19, trying to figure out how to manage all this. And like luckily myself and my buddy Dylan, who he's moved to Vancouver and he works for a university now.
Hmm.
um we just like the job and we like to work hard and we like to be busy, so we
Yeah.
just did everything we could until basically the brakes fell off, right? So
Yeah. And did you do performing as well, or were you just, no, this is my love. I'm going to do all the tech side and the.
um it's a bit of a two-sided answer. So at one point, a bunch of the bands in town started to, or like found out that I was a singer in my spare
Okay.
time. So if it was a quiet night, they'd be like, "Hey, the sound guy's gonna come up and sing a couple songs," and it was like, "What?
Am I? Yeah.
Excuse me?" Here I am on my phone trying to find lyrics, and but I was in a, I'll call it a semi-pro band. Like
Yeah.
we got booked lots. We were booked for like the first 2 years of my leaving live audio. I joined a band and we basically hired the company that mentored me and brought me up
Hmm.
every weekend for 2 weeks. So we were
Hmm.
really successful with that group. Um, and it wasn't where my passion was. Like it was,
Hmm.
we learned, like we played, it was a cover band. It was like a
Yeah.
cover weekend party band. We learned like 50 or 60 songs, and that was kind of it for me. Like I
Hmm.
couldn't push myself to learn more. I couldn't push myself to keep developing as that
Hmm.
musician. I just, the whole time I was up on stage, I was thinking about wanting to be out in front. Like it wasn't about the
Yeah.
spotlight for me.
Yeah. Yeah. But you
So
mentioned just a second ago, did you say you were an extrovert and you were happy? So you're happy. I, does that translate to being on a stage too? That you're happy being there? Ish. Okay. Ish.
yeah, yeah,
Ish.
like I don't really experience stage fright. I like poking fun at the crowd and the
Yeah.
banter in between. So like all that was pretty easy, and it was really good for my soul because being around people, like it brought me back to being a human, I used to say. So
Yeah.
when I was
Yeah.
out in public in front of hundreds of people, sometimes thousands of people, 2 nights a week, like that was some of the happiest Jesse's been. It's
Yeah.
just like I knew that that wasn't like where my passion laid, so
Yeah.
I didn't give it my all either. And I had a job at the time too, so like being in a band definitely would not have been a full-time commitment for me. Like I just didn't have that kind of
No.
dedication to that to pursue it like I did with the music or like the production side, where
Yeah.
like it was all I would eat, sleep, and breathe, right? So
I know, but I was kind of jealous of things like that. When I was younger, it was like I'd do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but I never found the one thing. And like my younger brother loved computers, and that's it. Decision made. That's what
yep.
he's going to do forever because, you know, and you, as I say, you just happened to luck in on that.
What's interesting though is like I still feel like I'm looking for that thing,
Oh,
even
okay.
and you might be the first person to say, well, you have it.
Well, no, people have said the same thing to me, but I do think there's a sometimes it can feel like there's almost an extra dot that you just haven't quite connected yet. I I feel like I'm not completely lost. I am very, very close. I just haven't connected that final to say this is it. But I don't feel like I'm completely off track. So I don't know whether that resonates at all. Do you
Totally.
feel you're close? Yeah.
Yeah, and like being from the small city that I'm from, I'm south of Calgary, a couple of hours. Calgary is where Ren was getting his treatment in Canada
Okay.
for a few months there, 8 months or so, or 16
Hmm.
months. And so it's not a very big population, and it's very conservative, very country music. So like there was a few nights or a few bands that when I worked with them, I felt like my true self, but
Okay.
that never really lasted the like longevity of it, right? I'd gone on tours with bands, and that was very fulfilling. Bands that I loved because otherwise I wouldn't leave. But most of it was like, who's got you booked, who can pay the paycheck at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
that's who you're working with. So like you have to find a way to be comfortable with that and okay with that. But yeah, it didn't fulfill me like I was looking for, I think. And I'm waiting to check that box. I think I'm close now.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you about that after too. But I think I'm getting close. It's just like I'm waiting for that kind of tide to break, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm really curious though, because you said you took some corporate jobs, and when I was 18, I moved and worked to. I moved to Spain and I worked in a nightclub, and I was loving it. And I came back kind of reluctantly, and then I worked in a bank, and I was like, really? I mean, I could have broken myself in a bit more gently into like average work life. It was just such a shock to the system.
Yeah.
So it's curious because you seem to be loving the way you talk about the work, but you're also talking about the people that you're hanging, and you use the word about being around creatives and being around the bands. You've got your thing that you like, but it is about the people. And then you do this corporate work and you're just telling yourself it's okay. Or
Yeah. It was like teaching is definitely a passion of mine.
okay.
So,
Yeah.
like my first sales job was at a guitar store, which,
Hmm.
made sense, especially being in a band at the time. And then the bar that I worked with that I had my contract at, they needed like an evening manager and another
Yeah.
bartender. So
Yeah.
I moved into that role pretty quickly.
So,
Um,
so not as corporate as I was first picturing. Because when you use the
well,
word corporate, I was like, oh my goodness.
I eased into it. I didn't rip that band-aid off like you did.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I went to like an evening manager, and then I didn't like the hours anymore. I was trying to settle
Oh
down
yeah.
with,
Yeah.
thank God that didn't work out at the time. Um, so then I took a job at a gym because I had a spree as like a competitive bodybuilder. So I was really into
Okay.
like health and fitness. I managed a gym for a few years, and then I moved into telecommunications, which is about as corporate as they come. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So I had a look at the channel. It seems about 4 years ago. Is that right?
coming up on, yeah,
So it's almost 4 years. Okay,
almost
go
four
on.
years.
What
Yeah.
happened?
What do you
Was it a
mean?
big revelation of da da? I'm going to start a YouTube channel or accident?
Um, a little bit of a happy accident, I would say. So, like, I was miserable at my corporate job. Like, they didn't understand me. I didn't understand them. We were
Yeah.
good. Like, our store was good. We were competitive. It was a corporate store, so there's stores all over Canada, and I would waste my time away at home, just like getting stoned and watching YouTube videos,
Mhm.
and I had a roommate at the time, bless his heart, and I'd be like, "Hey man, like I got this new reaction video I got to show you," and I would have three, four, five of them lined up every day.
Okay, so you were already a fan of watching them then? Oh,
Big
right.
fan, yeah.
Okay, I didn't. Yeah.
And so my friend challenged me. He's like, "Dude, you should do something like this." He's like, "You should do like a like have you seen this?" And it could be
Mhm.
someone's reaction video, or it could be some singer or some drummer. And I was like, "Yeah, but like the things I like are really niche, and I don't think many other people would appreciate that. They might
Yeah.
appreciate my excitement, but I
Yeah.
just don't know if they'd like the things that I like." And then he was like, "Let's do a reaction, bro." He was like, "If it takes me sitting down with you and doing the reactions with you, then that's what it takes. But like, you
Okay,
should do that."
that's good.
And then I got fired from my job,
Okay.
biggest blessing ever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna give this a try, man. I'm like, I really want to give this a genuine go. So
Yeah.
here I am looking for jobs in the daytime, getting stressed out, and then filming videos in the evening. And once again, I was really fortunate. Like the Patreon thing picked up really quickly. YouTube ad revenue is nothing to sing home about, but
Yeah.
it at the time was doing really well,
Hmm.
and I went full time in like within 7 or 8 months.
Yeah.
So it worked out really well for me.
Yeah. I want to bounce back a little bit to the corporate job. Did they know that you had the music background, or did they know other sides of you?
They did,
They did.
yeah. And apparently that's why they hired me for the position. I was one of the first outside team members to be hired in as a store manager.
Hmm.
So normally they would promote to the position and you kind of had to work towards it, but they hired me from the outside. They actually poached me from one of their competitors.
Yeah.
And like I've ran a couple of businesses at this point. I'd managed plenty of businesses with way more staff than them. Other competitive businesses with sales and everything. Like that's selling and coaching. Selling is really
Yeah.
really strong background of mine, and they brought me in for that, and then they didn't like the things that I did. So
Hmm.
I won an award for it was like this return on investment thing. So like your billable hours versus the sales that you have. And my first 2 years back to back, I won it like out of all of Canada, and then they fired me at the end of it because they didn't like how I did things. Well,
Yeah.
it's corporate for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, it's just, I was curious because when I was in more of that type of setting, I think only when I left did I realize that other people that I work with may have had much richer creative lives than what I was aware of actually in the workplace. There seemed to be a
Okay.
lot of the, well, that's separate, or even an embarrassment about that side of their life. And no, no, this is my professional life, and I won't tell you that I sing in a bar or anything, and I just thought, okay, that's a shame because of I could have had more in common with them, and I just felt very different to everybody. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I can relate to that. Are you an introvert?
yeah, more of an introvert than
Yeah.
yeah.
Because my whole thing is like I have to be your best friend within a few weeks, or this won't work. So
Okay.
I know about everyone's drawing habits. I know everyone who plays an instrument. I know what
All
instruments you
right.
play, and I still had a good relationship with the bar that I used to work at. So
Yeah.
I would take them all out, the whole team out for karaoke night, and I'd
Yeah.
sing them all songs all night. So like it was very open dialogue, especially around creative arts.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but I just don't think you can hide that. Like I'm gonna be a creative person one way or another. It's like it may as well be written on my skin. And I do have tattoo like music
Okay.
tattoos. So I have to let that bleed into everything. I can't just do the if you give me a task list, like it's just gonna go in one ear and out the other. But if I can create like an art project out of it basically, then I'll probably be successful at it.
Yeah. It was interesting because also you said about that you were fired from the job, and I remember hearing once. I I, I fantasized about being an entrepreneur, having my own business or working for myself. And they said, oh, one of the experiences that a lot of people who have their own businesses, they've been fired from somewhere else. And I thought, I don't really want that experience. So when I was fired, I was like, yay, I'm on path,
Yeah.
So,
I'm part of that percent.
oh yeah, right, okay. Didn't really
Yeah.
want that experience. But yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes, when these things happen, sometimes it's good to have a push, and it's like, okay. So you searched for a job for a while, but I'm guessing your heart wasn't in it.
What was not in it, no. And I even like I told my now fiance like I was like, how am I supposed to go into another business where they're just gonna treat me like that? Like I
Yeah.
know what my value is. I have plaques from the last place in these
Yeah.
competitions. I have awards that they gave me. And how am I just supposed to go to the next one and have them tell me I'm wrong too? Like
Yeah.
I don't see how I can stomach that. And
Yeah.
thankfully I didn't really have to.
Yeah. But starting YouTube, so you must have had some confidence about your music knowledge, and it sounds like you've got the sales different things. So so to me it's like, did you feel like this is a sure thing? I've got all the skills that I need, or
If you would have asked me at the time, I would have said yes. And now in hindsight, absolutely not. Um, so at first I wanted to do selling advice on YouTube.
okay.
That was going to be my thing was like
Yeah.
just like how to have a sales conversation and a
Okay.
marketing conversation. And I would love to still do that because I do have a passion for that. That's
Yeah.
fine. Um, I thought I was going to be a like a rap bar breakdown guy because that's all I watched.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what got me into rap music, and it's
Yeah.
one of my favorite genres now. And the first reaction that I did, I ended up talking about guitar tone and mic technique the whole time. So it just kind of
Okay.
like happened naturally. And when I
Yeah.
watched the video back, I was like, this isn't too bad.
Yeah.
And to to my friend Nick again, that singer reactions, he reached out and he was like, we don't really have any reactors doing what you're doing right now. He's
Yeah.
like, you might have found yourself like a sweet little niche, right?
Mhm.
And so this is kind of what I stuck to, like unapologetically.
Yeah. I know when I was watching you, there's something about watching somebody just enjoy, well, I call it geeking out, but I don't know whether you like that term. But like, oh, I really like this, and then I'm just going to explain this little bit. Just being in their element and being excited about it. There's just I don't necessarily understand some of the things you're saying, but it's like, no, this is fun to watch. Yeah,
No, I appreciate that. I think we a lot of us feel that too. Like if someone's genuinely excited about something,
yeah,
then I'm way more interested
yeah,
than if they're just like kind of bobbing along. And even if they explain stuff, like if it seems like it's like a task to explain it,
yeah,
and then I don't know, I'm just not as excited. But like someone who's genuinely like in it
yeah,
and they're
yeah,
like excited or upset or anything, they're displaying emotion. It just sucks me in.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, I've got a couple of notes here. One of the things was I think you mentioned an EP, but was that a year ago? Was that one of the
Um,
older videos?
yeah. So I
So
met
are you creating what are you doing?
I'm not creating, no. So I went from doing live sound, live audio, mixing bands to now I do it all from the comfort of my home studio. So
Okay.
I work with a fantastic musician, a handful of them, but that one you're talking about was a gentleman from Germany called Fry McDunstan,
Okay.
and a very, very talented individual. He's got to be one of the best guitar players I've ever encountered, ever.
Yeah. Okay. I was
And
assuming you were the one performing, but no, this is about
no.
producing. Right.
Yep,
Okay.
I just produced. I didn't even
Yeah.
produce it per se. He
Yeah.
self-produced and I mixed it.
Okay.
It's kind of like splitting hairs and
Yeah.
nuances, but so he writes all the music, he writes the lyrics, he writes everything, and then he plays all the guitar parts and hires a singer and a drummer to play all the other parts.
Okay.
And then they record their parts, they send them all to me, and I balance them all out
Okay.
and make the tones and stuff. So he was the first person to just like let me do a whole project for him and do with it what I wanted. So he was really happy with the product that we got.
Hmm.
We've been close friends ever since. And we just finished his second EP, which, in my opinion, it's like light years better than the first one, but it was growing pains in the first one.
Yeah.
And so since then, I've mixed a bunch of projects. The Black Speed is another Ren reactor. I'm doing his project for him. He's slowly releasing. There's a few other rappers from the west coast of Canada that we've done like metal remixes of.
Yeah.
So they're very like west coast rap feeling, but now they have like metal instrumentals behind their west coast raps.
Yeah.
It's a lot
You
of
know, I
fun.
have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
You're just nodding along. That's okay.
Well, became I was told about Ren because of the story and because of the health story. So that was why, and I was particularly the reason I think I was so taken by it is that I'd been diagnosed with chronic fatigue and I wasn't sure it was possible. So to see somebody creating at a really high level and still talking about being ill and managing that because I in my own head it was like, well, I'm not professional because I can't guarantee turning up and I can't do, so so for me, it was much more about the story than about understanding the music. So yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
That's okay. And that's something that I envy though, because like to listen to the story and the messaging in the words of a song is really hard for me.
Okay.
And a lot of that comes from in my like I self-diagnose myself with this, but just listening to problems that can happen in music that I'm
Okay.
working on,
Yeah.
and the lyrics, like the lyrics are given to me or someone else is focused on the lyrics. I have to focus on making sure that all the parts are heard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me it's a different journey, but
Yeah. Yeah.
by listen 3 or 4 I can kind of dive in and like digest the music and the story. And so like some of them move me right out of the gates. Like I've teared up in a lot of videos,
Hmm.
but it takes a lot for it to get to that point for me, which I wish it didn't, but I can't
No,
change who I
I
am
think
either, right?
yeah.
So
I used to teach public speaking, and so sometimes when I listen to videos, if they start doing the ums and ahs, I start counting them, and I'm like, just try and switch your brain off. But once you've trained yourself to notice all those things, then it's very hard to switch off from that.
yep.
So I was going to say, did you have something to add to that, or
No, go
no,
ahead.
no, no? I was going to jump to Patreon. What are you doing on Patreon?
So I take requests on
Oh,
Patreon
okay.
as well. You do reactions too, so you know how hard it is sometimes to get videos out. And
Oh, yes. So you're
yep.
thinking you put the ones that have copyright problems. Yeah. Okay. Tone
Or
deaf
if
music
I
was
have
that as well. Yeah.
distort a video or like put like a
Okay.
cover up over the video, then I'll put the original file on Patreon
Ah.
and
Okay.
then the edited one on YouTube. So
Yeah.
I don't love it. Like I'd rather just give the video in its full form because
Yeah.
like I don't expect everyone to come to Patreon, but those that are willing to support, like it's a real blessing, right? It's been, like I
Yeah.
said, it's been my full-time job for coming up on three years full-time,
Amazing.
4 years almost, like just producing for it. So
Yeah.
um yeah, I wish I could just give like the full piece to everyone, but
Yeah.
the industry's behind on that.
Yeah, I know. I was looking, somebody mentioned about independent artists and how they would like the different coverage of, and the reaction channels. And because I'm not even monetized, I'm teeny tiny, I'm just figuring things out. And I thought, well, I'm happy to do reaction videos to independent, but I'm not in any scene. I don't have connections. I don't have to follow the bigger groups to get the bigger numbers. This isn't what I'm doing at the moment. But I don't know. I'm figuring it out. You sound so far ahead of me down the line. I'm surprised that you're saying it hasn't quite clicked.
It hasn't. It's close, but it hasn't quite clicked. And there is something to what you just said though. Like if your passion is in indie artists and
Yeah,
discovering new music and just trying to do anything you can to help,
yeah,
then that's a great way. If you just want to grow your channel, then you can find videos that will give you like
yeah,
virality,
yeah,
quote unquote. But what like those to me, like if you look at my highest performing videos on
yeah.
YouTube, some of them have 340,000 or like almost
Morissette.
400,000.
I'd never
Morissette, yep.
heard of Morissette, but
Morissette is an unbelievable singer.
yeah,
Like, wow, she
I
can
did
sing.
watch your Morissette one. Yeah, yeah,
I appreciate that. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but the hard part about that is if that's not your type of thing, and I'm not saying that Maury isn't because I like Maury,
Mm,
but if that isn't your type of thing, now you're gonna have a large part of your supporter base or your fan base wanting more of that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
even if it's an artist that you don't mind watching sometimes, they're gonna
hmm,
want it all the time because they built your channel.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you're almost better off to grind and grow slower, but continue doing the thing that you want to do than to just dive in and try to get to 100,000 as fast as you can.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. No, I years ago I started YouTube, but I was incredibly uncomfortable on camera. But I thought, oh, I'll teach something. And I and all the experts were saying, what problem does your channel solve? And so I was going after a particular audience that had a particular problem, and then I would teach them. And it just didn't work. So this time around, I thought, I don't know what I'm doing. And I really had no idea. Well, I'm still fairly close to that. I had no idea, but I wanted to attract people I liked to hang out with. And that was number one. And I thought, if it's slower, if it's anything else, it doesn't matter. But I've got to like these people.
Yep.
So, but yeah, but I'm not one to give advice. Maybe in a, I was watching something the other day and they said maybe 3 to 5 years to find that your YouTube channel takes off. And I was like, oh my goodness.
It's a long time, right?
Right. Surely you want some feedback in that of like, yes, you're making progress and different
Yep.
things.
Well, there's metrics for that, right? Like
Yeah.
you can watch your sub count grow and
And go
people
down.
give you comment, yeah, and go down. People give you comments. Like I
Yeah.
get suggestions all the time for
Yeah.
better or for worse, or what I need to change, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
But my journey is I want to both better myself as a technician, but I want
Yeah.
to inspire people to put their art out as well because it's like what I do for work is not that scary,
Yeah.
and to an extent, just about anyone could get into it if you are willing to put the time in. So if I can help you make your vocal sound better in your song,
Hmm.
then I did my job. And the rest of it is just me trying to find those people.
Yeah. I'm
So,
curious, the people that are working with you, the musicians now, did they find you via the YouTube channel or other connections?
a bit of both. Some of it is people like finding me on YouTube and be like, "Hey, man, like I really like your
Hmm.
content." Actually, shout out to my friend Tachi. I never know how to say his username. Tachi Reacts.
Hmm.
Um, he gave me like highest praise possible on a live
Okay.
stream on his channel. He said that I was the reason why he's like bought all his equipment, started his music program or project, and put out a record.
Okay.
And I just went, wow, man, like how
Yeah.
cool is that? And dude, he didn't even message me on Instagram or like say hi or anything. Like that was my first time
Yeah.
interacting with him, and that's what he was saying. So part of it is like joining the Discord or just watching my videos, and that's great. Another part of it is like I'm in kind of a creators circle where there's a bunch of us that react to the same artists and we all try
Yeah.
to help each other. And a lot of them are musicians. So when they put together a project, they'll reach out and ask for help and I'll give help. I'll help you all day long. But if you want me to do the work for you, then we have to have a different conversation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
No, it's just that when I I've been doing a daily video because I'm trying to get comfortable hitting record. But video was so different in terms of the response from people. But as I say, I'm hearing your story again. It's so different. You're used to performing. You're seeing yourself as an extrovert, doing the sales. I'd written some books and drawn cartoons, and so I was fairly hidden, and unless I was in a classroom teaching, completely different. But
mhm.
did you notice that video seemed to have a different reaction with people?
um, Sorta. It like I still get nervous turning the camera on.
Okay.
Like I don't know if that'll go away. I've posted. I think I'm at like 1,300 videos on YouTube and 1,000 on Patreon,
Yeah, I
and
saw his
I
ton.
still
Yeah,
get nervous about it. So I don't know if that ever goes away. I don't
yeah,
know if I ever want that to go to away though, because like
yeah,
I want to care all the time, right?
yeah. Do you
So
edit? Do you?
yep. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Not a ton, self-admittedly, but I do. If I have like a big gap, or if I
Yeah,
stutter through a word, or if I can't find my thought or something, I'll go and clean it up. But I'm not here to like change my whole video. I've done other videos too, like where I explain how I do stuff, and there's a lot
yeah.
of editing that goes into that.
Okay.
So I can do it. Mine's also a volume game. Like I'm filming between 8 and 12 videos a day,
Wow.
trying to
Wow.
put them out.
Sorry.
So
Yeah. Okay. I thought you were going to
yeah,
say a week.
no,
I
no,
was
I'll
going to
do.
be impressed. 8 to 12 a week. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
it's about
Yeah.
20, 25, or 30 a week, so
Oh, okay. So yes.
yeah.
So I've some of the reaction channel. I see the names come up, um, and they're publishing in sort of three or four at a time as a batch. Is that what you're doing? Yeah, I've seen. I've
Yeah, so
definitely seen three come up at a time for you. Yeah.
YouTube will only show you 3 at a time, so I've kind
Okay.
of restricted myself to that, but on
Yeah.
Patreon I try to get them out pretty quick, so
Yeah. But this is because for you, this is the business. You need to be doing those numbers.
if I don't post those requests, I don't pay my bills at the end of the
Right.
month.
So most of
So,
them are requests then, rather
yeah,
than you
just about all of
exploring.
them. Yeah.
Oh, all of them.
Yeah. I have my like staples. So like with Ren, if Ren drops something new, I'll watch it. Everyone
Yeah.
like nobody needs to react or request it because I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
There's a handful of other ones too, but I try to stay on top of those. But you get it's tough because like say with Ren's situation, you know he gets ill or he gets sick or something comes up, and now you have time in between.
Yeah.
But at this in the same breath, if he puts out an album, he's not gonna put out an album again next month. So
Yeah.
sometimes you got to find a way to stretch it out and plan it out, and
Yeah.
but that's why you need a few of them, right?
Yeah. I think he's going to have a busy year though, isn't he? So
Yep.
everybody's going to be reacting. What do you think? I was going to say, I saw, sorry, I can't remember her name, Morissette.
Yep.
When I watched yours, then the feed started giving me loads of more reaction videos to her. How do you? You said there's a group of you that cover similar people.
Hmm.
How do you feel? Do you feel that there's competition, or do you feel like you've all got your own lane?
I think we all have our own lane, although I do challenge people to especially compete with me. Like I'm comfortable with it. Everyone knows I'm not upset with them or anything. I'm like, compete with me, man. Like get more views than me, get more
Hmm.
subscribers than me, post more than I do. Like
Yeah,
try to challenge me on that, right? Because it keeps my kind of act sharp, I guess. But it gives them something to work towards because like when I first started, I don't know if you feel this too, but when I first started, I didn't know. Do I do a video a day, every two
hmm,
days? Do I post every couple of hours? Like I just didn't know.
yeah,
And so like if you wanna get where I am, then compete with me. Why not?
yeah, yeah. So your video is frozen 2 seconds. No, nope. Move again. Sorry, the video just froze. Yeah, hi, we'll
Yeah,
just
yeah, we're
rock
back.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was to say I was doing these daily videos, and one of the videos I said I don't have a plan. I'm pretty sure 2025 I need a plan. I've just been, it was enough for me to hit record. That was all I was going to do. And then Beth, one of the subscribers, did this huge comment of, "I think this should be your plan. Day one, do this." I was like, oh my goodness.
I
so
think I
so
know who you're talking about.
I
She's
don't
great.
yeah, so it's like, okay. And she was like, no, you don't have to follow that plan. I go, no, no, that's fine. Just take some of that mental load off just for the moment. Let's try that as a plan. But I haven't had a plan before, that's what I'm saying. But
Mm. That's
but
okay
yeah.
though.
Sorry, what'd you say?
That's okay though.
Yeah, it's okay-ish. It can
Yeah.
feel quite muddy, how are you judging progress type of thing. So
That's a big part of it. Like if you don't have clarity, then the metrics mean nothing. You
yeah.
know what I mean? And like my big thing is like I don't want another video to do 300,000 or 400,000 views. Like that's
Hmm.
too much pressure. I like 1,000 views. That's good.
Hmm.
Or 800
Right?
views. That's good, right? I can connect with more people in that kind of space
Yeah.
versus the, you know, I've got a handful of videos above 100,000 now, and like I don't know what to do with them.
Yeah.
There's so many comments on them, and I've answered some of them, and some of them are the same as the other ones. I've answered it already, and it's chaos. So I'd rather just have my little pocket, people I can connect with, if that works.
Yeah. But you're wanting to do. Sorry, I'm going to use the word production, but you might not be production. You're
Yep.
wanting to do that side of things as well for the artists creating records and stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to like
Okay, you didn't that sound convinced then? Yeah.
my big goal is to like I live on an acreage, right? We've got a lot of land here. Very thankful for that. And I want to put a shop up in the back that has a live off the floor performance space. So
Oh,
if
okay.
your band is rolling through town, you can set your whole band up and you can perform, and I can hand you at the end of it a good recording with a good video.
Oh, okay.
That's my goal. And the way I want to market that is by reaching out to people through reactions and finding them through their favorite artists and hoping
Okay.
that I can teach them something or provide value in some form.
Yeah.
So that's my goal. There's no metric that YouTube gives me that'll tell me how close I am to that or not. But my goal is to get to that point. So that includes I have to learn. I have to
Yeah.
learn more about my craft. I have to learn how to communicate with people that I can help them instead of just take from them. And I have to earn trust with my
Yeah.
community that I actually know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So those are my metrics. And I base those off of how many people are actually having these conversations with me.
Yeah. And I think you
And
also need to let people know where you are
yep,
because I don't think I knew which country you were in when I was
yep.
reading the description and different
Lots
things.
of people accuse me of being American, and no, 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 no. Not American.
Yeah, I'm English, and I've been lucky to live in different countries, and then the assumption is American. It's like no English, yeah.
No, yeah,
So no, that's awful, isn't it? That we shouldn't make judgments. But
yeah,
go on, tell me more. So I like this. You say that you don't have it doesn't have quite clicked together, but that sounds like a vision to me. That sounds like
yeah. So that's a distant. Like I don't. The introvert Jesse is coming into my age. So the less I have to leave my little farm, the better. And one day I will get to that point.
okay,
In the meantime, I will run all over the countryside to help y'all out with your bands. Like
okay,
I'm here to help. So I was put in a really interesting situation with a teen rock band from Canada called Freeze the Fall, and they did a cover of a popular rock band, and they put it on YouTube, and it got like 30,000 views. Like it
okay,
was the most viewed cover of this one particular band. So a supporter called Terry reached out to me and he said, "Hey man," he said, "I'd really like if you checked this band out that did that cover, but
hmm,
if you could watch a couple of their originals and maybe, give them some feedback just
yeah,
based on my previous experience."
yeah,
So sure, man, like send it my way. I get that lots. People say, "Hey, can you listen to my thing? Give me some
hmm,
feedback." Absolutely, no problem.
hmm,
So I checked this band out, and they're 13, 14, and 15 years old at the time.
hmm,
And they were so good. Like they were so rock solid. Their songs were meaningful, their message was great, their melodies they wrote were beautiful. Like just it was just good. That was it. Like I didn't know what
hmm,
else to say. Like this is really good. So I invited them to join me on a live stream I was doing on my YouTube channel, and I introduced them to an audience, and we just like on a whim, I was like, if everyone in the crowd gives me $2,
mm,
give or take, I'll give that all to the band, and maybe they can go and get us like a good studio recording.
hmm.
They can maybe get us like a couple songs if we raise like a couple $100. Well, that turned into it was like $10,000 on a Kickstarter in 72 hours, plus $1,000 worth of donations from that live stream.
Okay,
So they did a full like a 5 or 6 song EP. They did music videos for it all. Like it was incredible. So now that band flies me to their city to do
wow,
live sound for them.
okay,
And I've done half a dozen shows, and I've got another half dozen lined up with them this year. And my passion has been reignited for that live experience again.
yeah,
So now I've got like the old bucket list from that time. I've got
hmm,
it again, and I
yeah,
can finish off those few checks. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I know. Well, as I say, I mentioned before that I used to teach public speaking, and one of the things I did was feedback and different competitions and doing feedback. And obviously, listening to you, that's why I was repeating back to you when you were like, and then you light up at different things. And I was like, that was what I used to do. I used to give people feedback about you're lighting up at this point. So when was this that you did this experiment with the live? How long ago was
Uh,
that?
Not this past September, but the one before that.
That's
So
sad.
it's at
Is
a
it?
year and a half.
Did you do a sort of, was it just the live that you did and talk about the band, or did you ever do a video telling the story of the behind the scenes and what happened?
A little bit of both. I
Okay.
talk about that story quite often. I'm
Yeah.
very proud of that story. That
I
was
know, but
like
that sounds like a great, like almost a series of stories of multiple bands, and
you'd think, yeah. There's a lot of moving parts that got it
yeah,
to that point.
yeah,
Like in no way could I just recreate that out of the blue again. Like I
okay,
couldn't find a band, go on YouTube, talk about them, and blow them up like that. Like it just
yeah,
wouldn't happen. And they've got 500,000 or 600,000 streams on Spotify now. Like they're going
yeah,
crazy, right?
yeah,
I could not recreate that again. Like a lot of moving parts had to happen,
hmm,
and I just had to be the face of it. And
hmm,
I'm okay with that because I'm an extrovert. Like I like being on camera. I like talking to people. So like anyone could have done it. It just happened to be me, and I'm extremely grateful for that. So
mm.
I forgot what the question was. I got all
About doing a
excited.
series of more bands.
Yeah, so I would both parts. I would like to tell that story more, and I would like
Hmm.
to use it as inspiration to like you at home, like your band can do this too.
Yeah, yeah,
Like just keep trying, right?
yeah,
Um, and I would like to be able to offer that opportunity, even if it's not the exact same, but I'd be able to like or to offer that opportunity as a chance to more bands, which is
hmm,
why I don't want just like your typical studio where you can come and you can do a record. I want where like people can see you live and get a really good like performance or recording of that, right?
yeah,
Because there's a lot of really good bands out there. They just don't get the exposure that they kind of need to blow up, and I would just like to be able to help if I can, right?
yeah. Did you find, or do you find that people are open to feedback, or they already set that they've got their sound?
Um, so this is something that I really try to balance on my channel. I won't tell you that your band is shit. I just won't do it.
Hmm.
Um, I will tell you things the way that if the roles were reversed, I'd want to
Yeah,
hear it that way.
yeah, yeah.
So like you won't find negativity on my channel because it's not
Hmm.
there. It doesn't
Yeah.
exist. You'll find support and you'll maybe find some new solutions or some opportunities. But
Hmm.
and I don't speak the gospel either. Like everything
Yeah.
I say isn't 100% factual either. So I might offer some opportunities or I might challenge you to try something.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's your art, it's your craft. Like it's up to you, right?
Yeah, yeah. I did some experiments, and some of the reactors that I knew and that I'd interviewed, they'd done some reactions for a group called Baby Metal. Do you
Oh
know
yeah.
Baby? And of course, I walk into it completely blind, and I'm like, "What on earth just happened to me?" And I hesitated to share that video. But as I say, I watched it back, and it wasn't negative because I'm not a music um, aficionado type of thing. But what I was saying in the video was, I think that they're doing all these different elements, but I do feel like I've just had my mind blown, and I don't know what I think of it. And funnily enough, in the comments, they were like, "Oh yeah, we felt like that too." It takes 4 songs, but as I say, I really hesitated because I felt like that was the wrong reaction to have, and yet a lot of the fans were saying, "Yeah, that's exactly what everybody feels."
Yep.
For something as different as that. So,
Well, what's a wrong reaction? Like you respond to something and you're honest about it. Like there's nothing
well,
wrong
I
with
think
that.
also is that I haven't sold myself as somebody who's uh, credible in terms of music taste, So I just,
You
just
don't
like,
need that.
yeah, no, it's just like, no, I'm really curious about the whole creative, that idea that you pick yourself, and I suppose that's why the independent artists and the YouTubers and the people doing the reaction chat, that idea of, okay, nobody's really said to me I can do this and it'll work for me and it'll be a success. It's just like, no, I'm going to have a go, and it's going to be a bit embarrassing at first.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm just really interested in that journey, and talking about that.
There's a really cool quote from I believe it was Skylar Briggs. I want to say he's like a professional bass player and musician. Oh no, it was one of the Rubens, one of the producers called Rubens. Anyways, doesn't matter. He says that the audience comes last.
Hmm.
He's like, if you write a song for the audience, they're not going to care about it. But if you write a song that you genuinely are happy with, then other people will resonate with it.
Yeah.
And you have to make yourself happy before you can make someone else happy. And I
Yeah.
just thought that was the most freeing thing. Like, I I get people I get people in comments on all kinds of videos all the time. Nobody asked you to talk about this and blah 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 blah.
Did
Well, I didn't ask you for permission either. I'm making a
you?
video that I want to make. Like,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah. I don't know whether you know um the comedian Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
He does this one joke about walking through town, and there's a poster up there with guitar lessons, and there's phone numbers below, and then people take it off and phone him and go, "I don't want guitar lessons." It's like, why? And he's and I thought that's exactly what it is. It's like, move on.
Yeah.
You don't have. I think somebody put on one of my videos, "That's 5 minutes I'll never get back," and I
Should have clicked out at minute one then.
really tempted to reply, go, "Tell me more."
Yeah.
I thought,
Let's
no,
waste some more of your time.
yeah. And I just
Yeah.
thought, why would you do that? I can understand really disagreeing and feeling passionate, but if you really don't like somebody, then why would you even watch more than 5 seconds? I,
Yep.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. And I'm not like, if I don't like your video and I click off of it, I'm not gonna tell you that I didn't
Yeah.
like your video and then click off of it. Like, what? I'm gonna walk into your job and be like, "Hey, man, you suck at what you do," and then just leave.
Yeah, but also one of the things that I noticed is that there's some people that I've unsubscribed from. And it wasn't necessarily that I didn't like them. It was just that there was a period in my life when I was simplifying and not watching so many, or particularly if I felt a bit overwhelmed with learning a subject. It's like, no, I'm going to ease back, and then occasionally I see them in the future. But it wasn't necessarily as personal as I felt it was as the
Mm.
creator.
When it happened to you, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yep. Yeah. That do you have a Patreon yourself?
I do, but not that I advertise or talk about or do anything. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still figuring out. I'm still this planning. What am I doing? Yeah.
Sure. Well, just message me if I can help with anything. Just let me know.
Yeah. Thank
But
you.
let me tell you, when people sign up for that and then they leave, it's like a personal assault. Like, my heart breaks every time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just trying to think what. Yeah, I've set up an email list. People, because as I said, there's different advice, but as I say, I think that I'm still in that. I promised myself a year of experiments, and I'm at today's day 265, so I've got the last 100 days of that. And I was like, okay, you need to keep experimenting, because I think I got a little bit complacent,
Mm.
and it's like, no, you need to be doing more experiments. And so today I film myself drawing cartoons, and part of me wonders whether people watch reaction videos and listen to these interviews have any interest in the fact that that's what I use. That's how I express myself. But I don't know. But who knows? Like,
It's like me trying to make a snare drum sound a certain way. Like, I don't know if y'all care, but I'm gonna do it anyways. It's what makes me happy. So
yeah. No, I do for the cartoons. I use like techniques of improvisation, and so I was saying to people, so I'd listen to something by Ren, and then I did some cartoons, and I was like, I'm not interpreting Ren. I'm just going off. I'm using him as a springboard to go off somewhere else. But like I say, I don't know. I don't know whether that's a thing, but it's that self-expression. I just written a book about speaking, and I only then, after teaching it for 20 years, realized that there's a difference between communication and self-expression. And it's like, okay, yeah, I really want people to understand, but the moment the focus is self-expression. So,
mm, that's
which
good.
which is what you're saying. But I think you're in a different position in that you've got a business.
Yeah, and to like, you'll get there too. Like,
Yeah.
when you find the thing that works for you, or if you just do something enough that it has to work, then you'll be doing that too.
Yeah.
Um, like, I don't know. I hope that your books and the things that you write like do well for you. But like,
Yeah.
if from the outside, talking to someone who's like, "Hey, I'm about to write my first book," or
Yeah.
"I've written my first few chapters," it's a very different conversation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Well,
similar.
no, for the longest time, I was saying, I want to write a book. I want to write a book. And then I think it was about 10 years later, and somebody said, have you written the book? It's like, no, I still want to write a book. And I said to myself, oh, write the book, don't write the book, but shut up. Like I couldn't listen to myself do it anymore. I was just thinking then about you coming back to music, and I wonder whether there's a part of you's like, do music, don't do music, but stop
Totally.
talking about it.
There was a part of me that was I was almost like shy to go back to that like scene, I guess, and just be
Yeah,
like kind of open the door and be like, "Hey guys, like, am I still allowed here? Am I, you still gonna welcome me in?" And it
yeah,
is what it is, right? Like, especially in art, I think sometimes you have to take a step away to be creative again, because I went through, I call it my douchebag phase, where I thought I was right and everyone else was wrong.
okay,
And now I don't have a lick of that in my body. And I had to go through what I went through to get to where I
yeah,
am so that I could expand my art even more, right?
yeah. I know that's fabulous. Is there
Yeah.
something that? Thank you so much for your time. Is there something you want to leave people with? I know all your links are on your channel,
Yep.
and your channel's
Uh,
doing well.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's doing
And
good. No, just if there's any musicians or any creatives out there, and if there's
yeah,
anyone that needs help, please reach out. Like, I'm not always the fastest to respond, but I
yeah,
will, and I would love to help you with whatever it is you're
yeah.
working on.
And I can vouch, he did respond. He responded to me,
I do
so
respond. Yeah.
that's really great. So yes, so thank you, and I'm gonna hit end, and then we will say our goodbyes. But thank you.
Of course.
Bye.
Thank you.